Hey team, Katie here from Equestrian Movement, and today I wanted to share with you one of the exercises that we work on within the school to improve our riders' hands so that they have softer and kinder hands that our horses are more willing to accept. So I'm going to show you this exercise really quickly, and then you are going to be able to implement it straight away to improve your connection and your feel with your horse's mouth. So what we're looking for as horse riders is that we want to have a straight line, elbow, hands, reins to the horse's mouth. And quite often what we see going wrong as horse riders is the lack of balance means that they're going to balance down to try and apply pressure to the horse's mouth, or they're going to balance on the horse's mouth to try and balance themselves so that they don't tip over. So the first thing that you really want to learn is how to engage and isolate your core so that you're using that to balance and not balancing on your horse's mouth to balance. And then you're going to engage and isolate your core so that you have range of movement through your upper body. So the first issue that we're working on when we're starting new green riders and starting riders from scratch is having a strong, secure and stable lower leg around the horses so that they can get into the rise trot through an opening of the hips to get out of the saddle rather than trying to use their shoulders to get up and down and using a pendulum action to get out of the saddle. So we're looking at stabilizing the core so that we can open and close through our hips so that we're rising from our hips to the horse's ears rather than swinging forward and backwards. And then once we're getting that strong, secure, stable lower leg, we're wiring that process. We're going brain to leg, setting the signals, activate the muscles. We get that working. The next thing that we're looking at, the next problem that our students have is they can get stable and secure in the rise, and now we need to steer. So we need the mobility through the upper body as we go into our steering that we can stay grounded and secure through our lower body, stay connected to the horse, and have that freedom of movement through the upper body. And so this is something that I did wrong for a very long time. I tended to ride with rounded shoulders. And so then when I'd pull, I'd be pulling myself forward and it would break that line of communication, and it meant that I was very heavy-handed with the horses. And so I ended up working them for submission to the bit instead of getting acceptance of contact because my position was off. When I started focusing on myself and my posture and grounding and centering my balance, then I was able to have more control over what my hands were doing, and I was allowed to be softer. I allowed myself to be softer and lighter when I was communicating. So what we're looking for is we're trying to pull the shoulder blades together and down so that it lengthens your neck. And what's going to happen is you're going to get a little pop of the sternum as well. So we're pulling our shoulder blades together and down and pop the sternum. So it's something that you might find helpful for switching your core on is that if you do a through your teeth, if you do a through your teeth, so you're pushing the air out through your teeth, it engages your abdomen there. So we're going to switch our core on. And then we're going to pull our shoulder blades together so that it pops our chest up. And then the strength of our aid comes from our shoulder blades. So we're going to have nice soft elbows that are able to follow the horse's mouth and open our elbows to give to the horse's mouth. And then we're going to have our thumbs holding the hands in place, holding the reins in place. And then we're at play with the rest of the rein with our fingers. So we're going to be at play with their mouth, with their fingers. We can do little butterfly kisses on their mouth. And we're going to hold the rein so that they don't slip through our hands by securing it with our thumb on our, I don't know what size, our forefinger. We're going to secure it on this one, our little pointy finger. So secure the reins, butterfly kisses with your fingers, engage your core, draw your shoulder blades together. And so what might also help is do this with me, give me a thumbs up, and then turn your thumbs out so that it rolls your shoulder blades together and down, and you'll feel it like pull your chest up. And then you're going to scoop your hands around, and so you've popped your chest up and being able to take your hands forward to the horse's mouth. So we're going to go thumbs up, thumbs out so that it draws our shoulder blades together, and then we're going to scoop around so that we can keep the elbow open. We can give our hand towards the horse's mouth. And then we've got our rein secured, butterfly kisses. So rein secured, butterfly kisses, scoop your babies up, switch your core on, so get your core engaged, draw your shoulder blades together, lift your chest. And so then if we're trying not to apply a backwards aid to our horse's mouth, but there is going to be some play on that aid in their mouth. It's going to be as gentle as we can make it, and this allows it to be gentle so that we can keep the, that rein, the elbow open and ourselves scooped up. And then we're just drawing our shoulder blades together to bring our hands back a touch and opening our elbows out to give. So there's just a little bit of bend in the elbow to increase that weight, and then an opening of the elbow to give your hands forward again. So we're looking at a gentle opening and closing of the elbow for communication with the horse's mouth. Where we typically go wrong is locking our elbow, and then we're trying to like pull through our arms, and it breaks the line of communication with the horse. We can, if we're going to get really tricky, we can do like a little gentle lift that just engages and touches the corners of the horse's mouth to ask them to accept and seek us. But we're going to be doing just like a touch of opening and closing our elbows to affect the bit within the horse's mouth to have that communication. And so then when it comes time to reset our posture, so if you can just do this posture reset, it will have a huge impact on your quality of riding. So we're going to make sure that our pelvis is in neutral, and then we're going to engage our shoulder blades and scoop to keep our chest up so that we have range of movement through our elbows. Then when it comes time to turning, we're going to look with our eyes, look with our shoulders, look with our hips. And so then there is a little bit of movement through our hands purely because of the movement through the rest of our body, but they learn to turn because of the way that we're looking and shifting our balance, and they're following the rein aid, which allows them to lead with the shoulder and stay balanced in that inside hind instead of falling out through the shoulder as we ride into that turn. So the things that we're looking for here are switch your core on, draw your shoulder blades together, lengthen your neck, pop your sternum, and then opening and closing through the elbow. Thumb is anchoring the rein, butterfly kisses on their mouth, looking with our eyes, looking with our shoulders, looking with our hips for our turns. And then if we're going to go into a downward transition, we're going to relax into our seat and switch our pelvic floor off. And if we're going to go into an upward transition, we're going to pelvic floor on and lift ourselves so that we're going to lift our horse up into that upward transition. And so this is what we're looking at when we're really looking at refining and improving ourselves as a horse rider, is that we're refining this work down into these more subtle cues that are an integration of movement more so than, the hands applying contact into their mouth and, trying to pull them to stop and trying to pull them to turn. The more that we use our hands to try to steer our horse and communicate with our horse, the more we are making our horses off balance. And so the heavier and more on the forehand we're going to make them. If we can do our steering through these subtle changes within our own movement and through the integration of our movement and their movement, we're not going to be pulling their head to try and get them to turn because we're just inviting them to follow the rein. And so if you think about it, if you have like a monkey on your shoulders and they've got a piece of metal in your mouth that's trying to steer you, if they pull that rein, you're not going to softly and sweetly go, oh yeah, I'm just going to follow this rein because this is what that little monkey is telling me to do. The first thing that you're going to do is pull against it to try and brace yourself and balance yourself against falling over. And so a lot of the resistance that we see to contact, the heaviness that we see within contact, is just the horse trying not to fall over because of how much we are affecting their balance. Firstly and foremostly is that they have to balance us, so we shift where their center of gravity is by sitting on them. So they have to find a new state of balance and holding us at the same time. And then secondly, we're pulling them off balance if we're trying to steer them. So that's why we want to try and refine our cueing down to our legs so that we're using our legs to steer more so than we're using the reins and the bit to steer. And then that allows the horse to find balance between our aids without having to brace against it to stop falling over. And that's where we see lightness, and then the horse can move freely with us because they're not just trying not to fall over from the way that we're using our aids. So take this lesson, implement it, try it on the ground first, and then have a play with it in the saddle. This is one of the groundwork lessons that I do with all of our students in their group lessons before they ride. So have a practice of it first and then implement it in the saddle, and then drop a comment below and let me know how you go with it. We love hearing your feedback and we love hearing how you're using these tips and tools to improve your relationship with your horse. Until next time, happy trails.